Good morning and welcome to my living room. Today is Thursday, September 28th, 2023, and this is episode 3 of the Live and Learn Knitting Podcast. Knitting for now, more things later. Today's episode is going to be called 2 Hats for the Holidays. I've got 2 patterns to share with you. They're similar in texture, but they're constructed differently, and I'll tell you about what I liked about each pattern and a little the things I learned knitting them. Before we do that, I would like to say again thank you for all the likes and the subscriptions and the wonderful comments from everyone. We hit a milestone this week. I was very surprised to the last episode, as of this morning, has over 2,000 views, and as of this morning I was at 199 subscribers. One away from 200. So exciting. That's very exciting. Who knew? So let's get into today's so subscriptions. Down below, you can hit like and subscribe and the bell to be notified of new episodes. You know all that. And if you don't, yes, just look right down below. And that's where the show notes will be. But the show notes are also now housed on a blog that I put together. I used to blog back in the, I think, 2000s is when I started that. For several years. It was just mostly for me, and friends and family looked at it, and my knitting friends looked at it. So that kind of fell by the wayside. So I decided to house the show notes there with some extra information and some still photos of some of the things that I've talked about during my episodes, so that you can go there. Especially right now, while the YouTube links that I put in the notes down below are not live, and they might not be for a while. If you go to the blog, and there'll be a link to that or the address for that down below, everything there then would be live, and you can just click from there to go to different places. It's a little easier than having to cut and paste anything that you see in the notes down below here. But I'm going to put them in both places for now, so you have a choice of what you would like to do. The blog is called livelearnknit.blogspot.com. So there's that. And there's also now an email for me for the blog, and that is also livelearnknit@gmail.com. So that will be down below as well. So many different ways to get in touch if you'd like to. And I really enjoy hearing all the comments and hearing from people that I've met on the internet, online, on different Zooms. That's been fun. So yeah, and just, it's a good warm community that we have, isn't it? I really like it. So, 2 hats for the holidays, because, we're getting into that season of knitting gifts for people, and maybe they're people we know, maybe it's, someone we don't know very well, teachers, coworkers, ourselves, anyone, or knitting for donation. We do that, and a lot of people do that. You knit gifts and you knit for donation year round, and it's always good to find quick, easy patterns that are fun, engaging, and turn out a good product and something that you're happy to have once you're finished. So the first hat is called the Firebreak Trail Hat, and it's a new pattern that was just released a week or so ago by Christina of Blue Stockinette Designs. And Christina lives in Beecher, Illinois. And I did a test knit of this hat for her when she had a tester's call back in August, I think it was. And I really like the pattern. It's a stitch pattern that I have worked before, but I have always knit it, I'm trying to think, back and forth, I guess. Here's the hat, and I will put it on. It's kind of a, whoops, I gotta, I wore my hair down so I could try hats on a little better today and not look like I didn't have any hair at all. It's a little slouchy. She has, you know, a little bit slouchier marble on hers. Mine ended a few rows quicker than the pattern called for because I was running out of yarn. But it's slouchy. You could add a pom-pom at the end. This one I knit in Malabrigo Chunky in the forest colorway, and that's some yarn that I bought at Yarnology in Winona, Minnesota. Hi, Gabby. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Allie. So, I don't think they have Chunky anymore. They might be able to still order it if you ask them nicely, but you can also find it on the internet as well. Look at that texture. Isn't that lovely? So this is what I usually call mistake stitch rib. Christina called it broken rib in her pattern. Usually it's a 4-stitch repeat, and like I say, when it's knit back and forth, you would make the repeat happen by having an extra stitch, like one extra at each end of the row, and so that's what got your ribbing to stagger. But this is a little different. This is her repeats and her stitch formation is just a little different. And it, as I'm working this, I was trying to figure out how did she do this? It's a little bit magical to get a back and forth pattern in there, because you do not see, and I always have to look really close to find the where the beginning and end around is. It's almost easier for me to look at the cast on edge, and I still can't really find it. That's how cool this pattern is, because that makes it pretty much reversible except for those last few little rounds at the top. So, you could wear it either way, inside out. You almost, you don't know. And if you put a pom-pom up there, that would kind of cover up, here's a pom-pom, cover up that little bit of purling at the top. So it could go either direction. If you're going to do something either direction, make sure you bury your ends really well. So, I mean, there's the ends popping out right there. But yeah, bury them. Be a little more mindful of how you weave in your ends if it's going to be something that has potential to be reversible. And we'll get to that in a second hat too. So yeah, this is just a nice warm, it's thick. So it's in the round from the cuff up. Took one skein of yarn, which is great, because how often do I buy things in sale bins or, the leftovers and that, because they're marked down, and I always think, oh, I'll find something to do with them, and then they sit and sit and sit. And that's sort of what happened with this yarn. I knew it would be a hat someday, but I didn't know what pattern I would make out of it, So this was perfect, just perfect for that. And now Malabrigo Chunky, this is a merino, 100% merino. It is not a superwash yarn. I washed this and blocked it the same day that I blocked that Baby Sophisticate sweater from episode 1. And I had it laying outside as well, and it wasn't drying as fast as the other sweater. And it also seemed, as I laid it out there, that it was stretched out a bit, even though it was, merino. I maybe had stretched it out as I laid it there. So I did, when I threw that Baby Sophisticate in the dryer, I put this in the dryer as well, and I can see that it did shrink up just a little bit. But it softened up a lot. So, that was maybe only 5 minutes, 10 minutes in the dryer for this, and then I pulled it out. I probably would not put this in the dryer again. This is actually going to the husband of a friend of mine, and Pat, he has come over a couple times now and helped me cut wood in my backyard in the wintertime. So I know he likes to be outdoors a lot in the winter doing things. So this is a hat for him, because it was a little too big for me, and it's really more I knew I wanted to make another one, and I will show you. So I was happy to share this one with someone else, someone who deserves a good hat. So I made a second one after Christina published the pattern, and I wanted to make one for myself as well. So I made this version, and this is out of Arcaña, Huasco Chunky. Huasco is a city in Chile, and Arcaña is a region in Chile. So they are near each other, and this is also it's 100% wool. I'm not sure I don't think it's merino. I think it's Peruvian wool. This one I wanted to use this first, but I don't have a strand of the Malabrigo left. But this is a little bit finer. You know, it's chunky, but it's not a big chunky, if that makes any sense. It's very tightly, that's probably not going to focus since I'm behind here, but it's very tightly spun. It's very round yarn. Firm, it's springy, but very circular. So look at that. Look at those pretty rainbow colors. Isn't that fun? And so this one, you know, same thing. Like this one is, the first hat was knit on a size 10, which is what Christina called for in her pattern. And so that was another reason why I wanted to do that. But then this one, I used a 9 on. I am a loose knitter, so I was a little worried about, you know, making something too loose. And that's another reason why I like ribbing patterns, because especially for gift items, because they have such springiness to them that they will expand or contract to fit a lot of head sizes, foot sizes too. If you're making socks, ribbing is great for socks. So yeah, so I went down a needle size for this one because of the yarn diameter being a little bit smaller. Still though, it worked out, and it's not terribly slouchy. This is how much yarn I have left. At the end, I weighed the yarn that I had left, and then I did a couple rounds, and I weighed it again, and I used 2 grams, I believe it was, for 2 rounds. And the pattern, the stitch pattern, was worked over 2 rounds before the shaping started, and there's just minimal rounds of shaping at the top. So this is a little bit less than 2 grams, so I didn't have enough to do, you know, 2 more rounds. And that, I mean, that's pretty good for a leftover. I can use this, you know, tying up plants in the garden or something next year. So yes, it's very nice, very firmly spun. This one is a superwash yarn. I have not washed and blacked this yet. It almost feels like it doesn't need it. I mean, it will, I'm sure it will soften up. You know, it's very soft now. It's really soft now. It feels so good to hold on to. And why I did not weave this in yet is because I'm trying to decide if I want to put a pom-pom on here or not. If I want to put, I don't think this is enough to make a little tassel out of it. It would be very, very little. It might be like a real short one. I don't think that would go for this hat. So I thought about maybe putting a pom-pom on, and I would use this then to sew the pom-pom down if I wanted it to be a permanent pom. That I'm debating about that. I'm actually also debating about keeping this one or donating it. It's nice. I'm trying to, here, oh, there, put the string right in front. I guess it looks okay. I mean, yeah, it looks okay. The other day I had it on and I thought, I don't know if those colors do much. Maybe with like my denim barn coat or something, that'd be a good hat. Yeah. I'll hang on to it for a while and then decide. So that's two versions of one hat, the Firebreak Trail hat. And that pattern is on Ravelry now. It's $2.99. And that's pretty reasonable for a pattern that I will knit multiple times. You know, and it's well written, very clear, very easy to understand. Good instructions. The first time I knit the hat, I still was kind of following, even though it was a 2-row pattern and it's an easy repeat, just to get to the end of the row and the beginning of the next row, or where you do the little bit of trickery that makes that broken rib. And I kept watching it. The second time on this hat, I was able to read my knitting really clearly, of course, and not have to look at that pattern again. Except until I got to the shaping rounds. And actually also I did one extra round of shaping. I believe Christina had it and at 15 stitches and then pull through to bind off the top. And I decreased one more time and got down to 8 stitches and pulled them through for the top. So fun pattern. Thanks, Christina, for coming up with this one. That was great. So the next hat is very similar. Does that look almost the same? Almost the same. It's not. This one, it's got a very long rib, which is kind of nice to cuff that all up. This is called the Simple Hat. The Simple Hat by Rita Levine. And Rita, here we go back to, it is Thursday today, so this is a little throwbacky Thursday. Rita, I met her online back in the 90s through, and I'm sure some of you remember this, when the internet was just invented. First thing that happened, one of the first things was all the knitters rushed to the internet and got to know each other through the Knit List, which was an email listserv hosted out of the University of Minnesota by Jill McAllister back in the day when things were brand new. And yeah, we would email. It was such it got to be a huge group of people, overwhelming. I mean, some days there were 100 messages a day or more. And so eventually you could get it in a digest, which was a lot to go through and read in a day. But it was so cool. That was like the first online knitting community. And we all came together and shared questions, shared advice, shared good patterns and where do you get this yarn, and oh, what's that yarn, and all kinds of information. And when Christmas or the holidays rolled around, after the list had been going for, I don't know, a year or so, people just started offering, well, the holidays, here's a pattern I like to make, and they would list it. And this was before photos, this was before HTML, this was all text and ASCII and all of that kind of stuff. So Rita had just, written a pattern and contributed this typewritten pattern, basically. So you didn't know what it was going to turn out like till you actually made it. This pattern's still available. It's you can find it on Ravelry, called The Simple Hat by Rita Levine. The link I put in the show notes is going to link to the website that hosts the pattern, and it's actually, because the Knit List, there used to be a website online for the Knit List, for all of the archives of messages and etc., and for all of these patterns, and it was actually broken down into two lists at the holiday time. There was the gift list and a food list, all these recipes and ideas for gatherings and get-togethers. It was super. So yeah, all of that stuff, bits and pieces of that are still available, and it's on a website which is called the Wayback Machine, where a lot of old things go. And hopefully it'll stay there. If not, we'll have to see about getting it, getting it put somewhere a little more accessible if it happens to go away. You can still link to it. It's a free pattern. But the difference between these two, besides the deep cup, which is a different stitch pattern also, is that this one is knit flat on straight needles and then seamed. And when I first made this, and like I say, and the stitch patterns is a tiny bit different. This is, yeah, and I'm not, going to give away information how it's different, but it is different. And so then it seamed up, and I was trying to remember, because I made, as I said, they didn't have photos. So when these things got put on an internet website, finally, they had a little, I'm not sure what you would call for people to make samples, take a photo of it, and then add the photo so that you would know what the item looked like. And I did that for this simple hat pattern. If you look on the pattern page on Ravelry, the red sprinkly hat is mine. And I made a couple of them, several of them back in the day. And I couldn't remember for sure if I did, since it's knit back and forth, if I added a selvage stitch for ease of sewing or not. I'm almost thinking I didn't, and didn't even slip the first stitch or anything, just knit, just work the stitches. And then because of this texture, you can kind of see my seam is right here. But because of this texture, your seam is hidden no matter how you sew it. Now, this ribbing on this one it's not knit one, purl one. It's a broken ribbing of knit one round, then knit one, purl one round. And I want to show you see how you get those straight lines, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit, because that did not happen with this, and it's not just because it's a different ribbing pattern. They talk about that happening if you're, if you knit so that your stitches, like if your purl stitch is looser than your knit stitch, and rowing out, that kind of a thing. But this is vertical, where it shows like that. And I think that happened not necessarily because of how I knit, although I knit a little wonky, but because of this yarn is a singles yarn. And now I started this hat on a size 8 needle. This is more of a worsted weight yarn. And it was too many stitches, and it was too loose. And that was very obvious, very, very obvious line. But it was also too loose. So I stopped, and I went down to a size 7 needle. And it made for a better hat fabric. But it neatened this up. It's tidier now, but you still see that line. And I think that is just because more of the characteristics of this yarn, of this singles yarn, versus this yarn, which is terribly round, you don't see any kind of line. And I know that's a short bit of ribbing, but you don't see that. So if this happens to you and it bothers you, think about that. It might not be you, it might be the yarn. Going down a needle size helped with this. Possibly if I went down another needle size, it would help even more, but I don't mind it. I think that it just enhances this broken rib effect. that you see here on this hat. Again, this is a gift or a for me or a for donation hat. It's not anything that's going into a competition where everything has to be perfect. So it's still going to be a nice warm hat. This yarn is, I do have the ball bands here. This is something I bought at the thrift store. There were 2 balls of it. It's Debbie Maycomber, Blossom Street, Gerbera. One was Gerbera Solid and one was Gerbera Paints. And I'm pretty sure I got it at the thrift store. I can't remember exactly, but that's what's coming up in my mind. And it's 100% wool, a wool singles, a worsted weight wool singles. Look at that pretty self-striping colorway there. It almost, in the ball, you know, it has a little bit of a hint of a Noro type idea. It's not, but, you know, it's close. And I want to say that I paid 50 cents a ball for those 2 balls of yarn. And I wasn't going to knit with them. I was going to crochet. I make these bowls, crochet bowls, and felt them, fold them down, shrink them. That was what my intention was. But when I decided to make another hat to show for this episode, I found this upstairs and I thought, well, this is nice. This will work. And so I made the ribbing, and then I went into the pattern for just a little bit because I knew that would be covered up. I wasn't sure. This is all the yarn I had left when I finished this hat, and this really, you know, that was it. So I wanted to make sure I didn't run out of yarn. So yeah, when you fold up the brim, that bit of solid at the bottom is covered up. Now, here's the thing. Sewing a seam on a back and forth on a hat, I sewed this seam wrong because this is another one, and actually I'm showing it inside out right now. That's the inside. Again, hard, especially in a texture or in a multicolor yarn, you don't really notice that that's the inside, but that's the inside. Because do I still have it? Yeah, I sewed it up wrong. I sewed it so that yeah. So, you know, this is the right side, and pay attention to the pattern. Rita says in the pattern, when you start this decreasing, doesn't matter what side you start on because it's reversible. Well, it kind of does matter because this was my right side. This is the right side of my ribbing. This is my right side of my shaping. But when I fold this up, that's the inside. And not that that looks bad either, but that's the inside. So in order to have this, and that's what messed me up when I sewed it up, I stitched the seam on what I thought was the wrong side, and it turned out that ended up having to be the right side because I wanted this side of the ribbing to show. So be careful. Be careful. Note that isn't the case. You do need to watch where you're making your shaping. Either start or end on, start on the opposite side, I guess, would be my, well, I'm not sure how. Actually, I see some, I don't know what I did wrong at the top there, really, because I see some shaping here that is on this side. I'm trying to remember if I took this apart. I did take this apart a little bit to rework it, and I still did it a little bit wrong at the end. It's not that noticeable. I'm not going to lose sleep over it, and look, it works. Now, I want to show you a tip on this one for pom-poms, because I do have this little pom-pom here. And, a lot of these are coming with this little loop so that you can attach it on the inside. And so what most people do or something, is you get a button or a little something to sew on the inside of the hat and then hook that loop through. Well, I couldn't find one today. I found something very, very close. But I was at the hardware store, I think, and I found these little short pieces of doweling. They are used, as connectors, and they have ridges on them. It was either the hardware store or the hobby store, and they're about an inch long. So I found, like, they're small things, and in this house, trying to find a small thing is, you know, it's next to impossible, because I put things in safe places, so I will know where they are. And then, yeah, that's anyway. I found this little cap. I think it's a pen cap or a cap for a glue bottle or something like that. Little cap that was upstairs. It'll work for demonstration purposes. So you take the pom-pom and, you know, hook the tab, pull it through the top of the hat, that little bit of cast off round, work that through, okay, and there it's hooked like that. And then you can just take and slide this, and actually those little wooden dowels were great because they, being wood and having the ridges, they were grabbier. But you just take that, and that's going to hold that pom-pom on. And you're not going to feel that on the top of your head because this is a little slouchy. And isn't that, see, it just sits on there really nice. And then when you want to take this off to wash the hat, it's easy. You just slip that little toggle off, and there you go. So that's another little tip for today. These rib patterns, I really like mistake stitch ribbing. I think it gives a good texture. It can highlight self-striping yarn really well, or multicolor, or, you know, any of those hand paint yarns that have such interesting details. It can really highlight those and help them blend together a bit more. But like I say, I didn't know mistake stitch in the round until Christina's hat. And it got me wondering, reminding myself about this book. I love stitch dictionaries. And now my hair's all messy. This is a newer one, well, new to me, that I got from Yarnology again. I don't know if they have any left. I think this is out of print now. And it's called Up, Down, and All Around Stitch Dictionary by Wendy Bernard. Now, I have a lot of stitch dictionaries. I didn't need another stitch dictionary. But clever Wendy took stitch patterns. She just, warms my heart. She took stitch pattern. Here's one. This is a good example. You have instructions written out for bottom up flat, bottom up in the round, top down flat, top down in the round, charts for each one of those. She did all the work. So if you went and saw this German herringbone and said, oh, I really want to make that, but it doesn't fit in with my project because my project is going this direction, or it's going in the round and this pattern's flat, and she did it all. She figured it all out for us. Wonderful. Just wonderful. She has another book out. She's got several stitch dictionaries. The new one is called Knitting All Around, and I believe it's more of the same, or on the same format. This is loaded. This stitch and spiral binding, so it lays flat, yet it's a hardcover cover. So her table of contents, she has got chapters for knit and purl stitches, ribbing, more than a dozen different ribbings. Chapter 3 is textured, slipped, and fancy. Chapter 4 is yarn overs and eyelets, cables, lace, color work, hems and edgings, and then she has 11 projects to work in here. And they're really some nice projects. There's some tops, there's socks, and the photographs are nice. There are a couple of the swatches where I wish they would have picked a different yarn to make the swatch in, because I don't think they're shown to their best advantage. Not very many, just a few. Most of them are clear and easy to see. And yeah, it's just so well done, well laid out. So she has let's see here. She does have what she calls seated rib in this book, and she has the directions. And so seated, and she'll tell you if the stitch is reversible or not. And if it's reversible, then you don't have to worry if you're going top down or bottom up. So she'll tell you that. And this one, she just has written out instructions because it's just a simple rib stitch. You really don't need a chart for it. If you really want a chart, there you go. Make your own and learn how to make charts because they're not that hard. They're really not. But what a wonderful, wonderful book to have. And yeah, I have got stitch dictionaries. So for me to buy another book of of stitches, not just any book, this is a good one. So yeah, thank you, Wendy. I appreciate that. The difference between these hats, non-superwash, superwash, and non-superwash, as I was trying them on the other day, I can feel, and like I said, I haven't washed this one yet. It will probably, hopefully, soften up a bit. I mean, it's soft, but fluff up, grow, not grow, but expand the fibers a little bit and become a little, because it feels like if I put this on again, I get that tail in the front. If I would put this on and go out in the wind, I think I would feel the wind through my ears right here. This one I wouldn't. This is very chunky and heavy. And then this one with the double brim, which is not there's a seam, not a superwash wool. This double layer, especially this ribbing. This kind of ribbing is a little thicker too, just by its nature. And then the textured stitch is a little thicker by its nature. So these are good layers to have around your ears, and they feel super good. Super good. So I don't know, I might keep this one and donate this one. I'm not, or I might make another one, because gosh, there's a lot of yarn upstairs. And this took me a couple days because I was going slow and I was savoring it. You could crank this, knit this hat, maybe not this one with the cuff, but yeah, if you wanted to sit down and do a movie marathon, you could knit a hat in a day, or knit this in a day. Yeah, easy if you really want to. So if you need a quick gift, that would be a great thing to do. Oh, we're getting down, it's past my half-hour mark, so I've just got a couple things to wrap up. I should have said at the beginning, I'm saving a surprise for the end, because here's the surprise. Thank you for, I was gonna, when I started this, I didn't know how it was gonna go, and I thought, well, gosh, if I hit a milestone, I'd like to have a little prize. I'd like to have a little reward, not a reward, but a giveaway. Well, what would the milestone be? Well, if I ever get to 100 subscribers. And so this week, when I hit 100 subscribers, I thought, oh, wow, that happened sooner than I thought. And, and 1,000 views. It was 1,000 views, like on Monday. And now it's Thursday and it's 2,000 views. It amazes me. So I have a little giveaway, and to celebrate that, so surpassing the first milestone of 100 and 1,000. And I'll tell you first how to enter. I think this would be the easiest way for me to handle it, and we'll find out. This is the first time trying it, so we'll just see. Rather than go through comments on YouTube and find them all and, mark them all. I do get an email notice when someone puts a comment in and what the comment is. But, keeping enter for a drawing type comments separate from content comments, that would be tricky. So instead of that, what I would like, if you want to enter this giveaway, I would like for you just to send an email to the livelearnknit@gmail.com email address, and put giveaway number 1, because there will probably be more, in the subject line. And then you don't have to, put something in the message, like hi or whatever. I like the drawing. I want to, whatever. Put whatever. Don't put anything. Do you. But do that to enter the drawing. And the deadline will be, since these are kind of coming out every 2 weeks, I'm going to make the deadline for that midnight Wednesday, October 11th, just in case I get a podcast together for the 12th of October. There's no requirements other than that. There's no pressure. You don't have to. Just enter one time and I'll find you. Don't enter 100 times. That won't work. So I'll take all of the names then and do the random number generator thing, and hopefully then be able to announce the winner in the next podcast that I do. What you will win, I already put it together. I was gonna wait, and then I thought, I went upstairs and found things. So I found some good stuff. So what you will win to celebrate 100 and 1,000 is, and you know what? When I looked this morning, it was actually 199. So maybe by the time this goes live or gets uploaded, maybe it'll be 200. Who knows? But to celebrate 100 and 1,000, I have this little sock set. This is from Ephemera Creations, sock yarn, hand-dyed yarn. And this came to me, I bought this from Yarn in Eureka, California. I bought it online. Lovely, bright green color. That's pretty close. These colors are showing true to color today. I love having the natural light to do this, because it really makes everything show up the right color. So this is their sock kit. Fingering weight, 100 grams, 435 yards of the green one, which is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and then it says the main color is 80 grams. The total is 100 grams. So then the contrast color of this lovely purple, green and purple, they're fun together, is approximately 20 grams. Machine wash cold, tumble dry low, or hand wash and lay flat to preserve the colors longer, it says. So Ephemera Creations hand-dyed yarn that came from Yarn, Sunny, and her website, I can link to that too. It's yarnfun.com. Eureka, California. Then I have a book, and this is Minnesota 52, 16 Knits Inspired by the Road. And this is from Corey Eichelberger, who is iRock Knits. She has a podcast, and you probably watched. And Megan Williams of Just Run It, and Stockinette Zombies. So they put this book together. There are 6 sweater designs, 2 pairs of socks, 2 hats, 2 cowls, 2 mittens or mitts, 1 shawl, a surprise, and a recipe. And look at that lovely pattern. That's a great pattern. And that comes in the hat. There's mittens. I think there's socks. I think there's a scarf or a cowl. Yeah, I love that stitch design. It's super. This cover, the sweaters have owls on them. Really fun. Lots of good patterns in here, and very well put together book. I took class. Corey came to our knitting guild and taught us Latvian braid, and we worked this hat pattern. Yeah, that was fun. I like Latvian braid. It's fun. So good detail. So you get this book, and then you also get this little stitch counter that you can fasten and put on your finger to count rows. And I was using this for a test knit that I'm working on right now, a different one that you need, the instructions say do X number of rows. And I thought, am I gonna like wearing this on my finger? I actually have it on backwards there. Am I going to like wearing this on my finger? I don't, I thought, oh, it's going to get in the way. It's going to feel funky. And it really doesn't. It's pretty lightweight. Yeah, pretty lightweight. And you just, you turn it on and you count, and then the little reset button there. Now this one does have a little propensity to, like, if you are wearing it just right and like knock it into the table or something, it might go forward. It's not but you don't have to have it on your finger. You can just also put it down on the table and use it that way. It was handy. It worked for what I needed it to do and keep track of my rows for that project that I was working on. So yeah, these 3 things will be in the giveaway. Maybe one more little thing. Who knows? I might add something special in from my hometown or from me personally. But this will be in the drawing. And like I say, send an email by midnight October, and that's midnight Central Time. If I see something at 6 a.m. on Thursday, I probably won't add it in. But if it comes in at 12:01 your time, or my time, but not your time, I'll take care of it. So that's that. And, drawings, we can't all be winners, but since there's only one thing, I also have a bonus for everyone. It's on the new blog. It's on there right now on the Live, Learn, Knit blog. It is a recipe for zucchini cornbread, because I still have zucchini out in the kitchen that need to be dealt with, and I also have a lot of cornmeal. So the two came together in this recipe. It's savory. It has a hint of sweetness though because of the corn flavor, and there's a little tiny bit of sugar in there. But it was really, really good. I loved it, and I'm going to make it again. And it was such a good use for zucchini because you just shredded the zucchini. You didn't have to peel it. You didn't have to drain it and pat it and all of that stuff. Let it sit in the colander for 30 minutes. No, just you need that liquid of the zucchini to moisten the batter. Perfect, just perfect. So baked it in the skillet in the oven. You'll see the photos. Yeah, what I made. And I'm going to make another batch as soon as this batch is gone. So tasty zucchini cornbread for everyone. And I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. It's kind of gray and cloudy today. It might be that for a while. We finally this week got some rain, much needed rain. Too late for the vegetable garden, too late for some of the flowers. I have a lot of wildflowers in my yard, and wildflowers do much better in a drought than flowers from the greenhouse. But it was even kind of hard on the wildflowers towards the end of August and September. Yeah, so it's nice to see some rain now, because I was really worried about the trees going into the fall season and the winter. Trees need to have water going into winter, so we could use some more. But it's a nice temperature to get out and hike and walk and do some yard work. So that will be my weekend, I hope. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you again soon with, oh gosh, I've got some great ideas percolating. So yeah, I hope you like it and enjoy. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.